Alright, what's going on, you guys? Welcome to Real Madrid Hub again. I'm your host, Dr. JOTA. And yeah, in this video, we have like 4 different news, 4 different names I wanted to talk to you all about because it's important enough to make this second video in this day. Okay, so the first one, we are going to talk about Dani Carvajal, of course, Eden Hazard, the failure of Vinicius Jr. in the national team. I will explain you why. And then the salary that apparently, according to ABC Spain, Real Madrid might be willing to pay to Paul Pogba for signing the next year, which is, arguably the most interesting news we have. So let me get started with Dani Carvajal, because everybody out there was thinking for Dani Carvajal to return soon, and it was going to happen actually next game against Shakhtar Donetsk. Well, as you know, let me say something before they keep going, because Real Madrid and Athletic de Bilbao were going to play tomorrow the game of La Liga, but the problem is all these South American players of Real Madrid, like Fede Valverde, not Casemiro, but Militao, and also Vinicius, we're not going to be able to make it. So because apparently they are flying back now, so it was not going to be time enough for them to be able and be ready for and available for Carlo Ancelotti. It was going to be very tight, scheduled very tight. So they La Liga decided to postpone the game, and until further notice. We still don't know when it's going to happen, but as soon as we know anything, of course I will share it with you all. So that said, let me keep going with the Carvajal situation, because like I said, he was supposed to return by the next Tuesday against Shakhtar Donetsk, but now, according to this information, the medical staff from Real Madrid, Antonio Pintus, and also Carlo Ancelotti have decided to stop everything and postpone as well the return of Dani Carvajal to the lineup, to the squad, or practice, or whatever you want to call it. And the reason is pretty simple. They don't want to take any risk. When it comes to players that have been through the kind of process of multiple injuries in the last months and things like that, what you don't want to happen is to see how the player gets back to the starting point where, because he gets injured again or things like that. That is exactly what you don't want to happen. So, although we really need the Dani Carvajal because is the only natural right back of Real Madrid, the problem is, how are you going to push the player harder and then take the risk to see how the player gets back and gets injured again? And probably you will be missing him for the next months. You can't take any risk. You can't afford a situation like that. You know what I'm saying? So that's why, apparently, according to this information, all the medical staff and the physical therapist, Antonio Pintus, and of course, Carlo Ancelotti, have decided to slow down, keep calm, and wait a little bit more if we see a better chance for Dani Carvajal to return to the squad, because we are still on time. This is just almost the beginning of the season, right? We are still in the mid-October, so there are several months ahead, different competitions ahead, and of course, the toughest moment, the toughest side of the season is not here yet. So there's no reason for us to take any risk with Dani Carvajal and pushing forward and pushing hard and try to force a situation, a completely unnatural situation where he might comes back to the injury thing and all the stuff. And that is exactly what Carlo Ancelotti and also the medical staff and Antonio Pintus that don't want to happen. So that's why the return of Dani Carvajal to the right back of Real Madrid probably happens, I would say, I don't know, honestly. I would say Shakhtar Donetsk, but maybe if he's not able to make it against the Shakhtar Donetsk, maybe they postpone and he's called for, maybe they call for the squad list against FC Barcelona. Even against FC Barcelona, I'm not sure he's going to be featured for the lineup though, but to me, the biggest chance he has to return is against FC Barcelona. So now let's move on and let's keep talking about Eden Hazard. So what is going on with Eden Hazard? Because as you have heard over the last 2 weeks, the Belgium player, had a problem in the first, I think it was the first game of Belgium or the second game of Belgium. He had the problem. Everybody was scared. Everybody was afraid again about Eden Hazard because apparently something happened. Actually, he had to be replaced during the game because he couldn't keep playing. And then Roberto Martinez said, okay, we have to take some medical tests and stuff to figure what is going on with Eden Hazard. He might have something bad, a kind of injury or something like that. But then, like the next day, the worst scenario was ruled out by the medical staff, and they said that it was only, a minor thing, so not big deal. So he had to return to Madrid to get some rest, take more medical tests, and of course, overall, keep working in Valdebebas, showing up in the training ground every day, and of course, being monitored by the medical staff of Real Madrid. So apparently, not big deal, okay? But according to this information, and here's the thing, according to this information, Eden Hazard today showed up in the training ground, but he was not in the practice with the rest of the teammates, but training alone. And as you know, that is a very bad signal, because that means that if he was training alone, it is probably because he was not ready to go. He wasn't ready to catch up with the rest of the teammates. He was not ready to be in the practice in the same with the same pace or in the with the same dynamic than the rest of the squad, or he couldn't make it, or just he was feeling bad or worse or whatever, right? So for any reason we don't know, Hazard was training alone, and that is when all the rumors and speculations come up. And the reason for that, it is because now there are a lot of people out there thinking that he might be worse than expected. Because for so many Madridistas out there, the player was okay. I mean, he had something after the Belgian clash and stuff, but it was not big deal, and that's why he returned to Madrid to keep, moving forward and getting some rest and stuff like that. But now, what is going to happen to him? The problem with Eden Hazard is what I've been telling you all since long time ago. Even if you have to Eden Hazard to 100%, I mean 100% okay, I mean 100% shape, 100% fit, and all the stuff, no injuries at all, and no fears, no concerns, nothing. I mean 100% okay. Even in that situation, right now, Eden Hazard has another problem. That problem is the rest of the players, especially Vinicius Jr. and Rodrigo Goes, who are, the most or the biggest competition for him for the same place and same spot and stuff like that. So if he's not ready to go, if he's not 100%, the thing is even worse. You know what I'm saying? Because even with that, even being at 100% is not ready yet, and is not counting with the confidence of Carlo Ancelotti to be there and get a spot in the Real Madrid lineup. How are you going to think that the player will be able for Carlo Ancelotti or in the same conditions to compete against Vinicius Jr. or Rodrigo Goes if he's not 100%? It is impossible. I mean, there's no way. It doesn't make any sense. So that is the second thing with Eden Hazard. It is almost impossible to believe for us right now that he will have any single chance to flip over this whole situation and change completely. And of course, to me, the chances for Eden Hazard to make something different and succeed in Real Madrid are much lower now than any time before. You know what I'm saying? Because he's not ready yet, and apparently this is to make the things worse. He was training alone again, so that means he might be falling back in the same hole he was trying to get out from, So I don't know. I don't know what is going to happen to Eden Hazard, but of course, the thing seems really dark for him. And now let me keep moving forward and let's talk about the next story, which is about Vinicius Jr. and the thing with all the international players. Vinicius Jr., as you know, only has played 27 minutes in this international break. He was not in the squad list against Colombia, and he didn't even play against Uruguay. And to make the things worse, Rafinha, who is a Leeds United player who plays in the same position as Vinicius Jr., has made an incredible performance. He has played in 2 games, I think, with 2 goals, 2 assists, which is something really bad for Vinicius Jr. But the point here is, why the heck is Vinicius Jr. traveling around the world, getting tired all the time for just 27 minutes to play? I mean, does it make any sense for you all, guys? Because for me, it doesn't make any sense. It is actually a nonsense. And I don't understand why Tite is all the time calling this player when in reality, he doesn't even trust in him. And now, if another better player is popping up and is going to replace or is going to be ahead in the pick list of Tite, why the heck are you still calling to Vinicius Jr.? It doesn't make any sense. So that is the other thing I don't understand. And this is, of course, pretty bad news for Vinicius Jr. because, as you can imagine, it is not a good thing. It is not good at all to fly to the other corner of the earth for barely playing. You know what I'm saying? So let's see what happens, but very bad news for Vinicius Jr. And now let me move on and talk to you about the last news we have today, that is about Paul Pogba and the salary that, according to ABC News in Spain, Real Madrid will be willing to pay to the player. It is 14 million euros per year plus a transfer fee to the player of 30 million euros. And even, on top of that, Mino Raiola apparently is very willing to negotiate with Real Madrid, and apparently the player and also the agent are looking forward to sign for Real Madrid. So every single thing, every single, argument is pointing right now in the right direction, and the things are moving towards the signing of the player for Real Madrid. If there is a reason why I've been talking about Paul Pogba and his possible arrival to Real Madrid, it is because there are so many circumstances pushing in favor of this signing happen. And to me, this signing will happen next year if both of the sides have a goodwill to reach an agreement and make the deal happen. You know what I'm saying? If Paul Pogba, Mino Raiola are okay with that and they are not very picky or try to demand Real Madrid things that they can afford or something like that, to me, this is going to be a very easy deal because the player have been trying to sign for Real Madrid over the last 5 years. And Real Madrid actually has been trying, maybe not as hard as the player, but has been trying to sign the player over the last 5 years. So now that we have a very good chance because the player is going to be, is going to arrive to Madrid for free, we don't have to pay anything to Manchester United and stuff like that, it is the right moment, actually the perfect moment, to see how Paul Pogba plays in Real Madrid. So let's see what happens. Let's wait a little bit more. And of course, if you want, just guys, comment in the section below. And of course, subscribe my channel, Real Madrid Hub.